Testing. Hey YouTube. How's everyone on this fine February 1st? Tomorrow is Groundhog Day. Hey Haley, can you give me a sound check, please, ma'am? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. How's Haley doing? Sounds like you've got some big changes coming up, Haley. Have you started your new job yet? I may have missed a stream or something if you've talked about it. The last thing I caught was that you were starting a new job working for this company. How is that going, or have you started it yet? Hey Sharpies Models and Aquatics, welcome to the stream. I think Groundhog Day, awesome. Much less driving time, Haley. And do you honestly believe Lucas is going to move to the islands? Will his better half let him move to the islands? I think it's important that Groundhog Day is coming. He is going to move, huh? Gosh. I suppose he will have a blast. She wants to go more than he does. Whoa. So Wesley is going to be grow up as a cracker. He's going to be running the beaches, running barefoot through the jungles, uh, swimming with the mantas. That's pretty cool. I just hope our government kicks in well enough to take care of the islands. So far, they've not done a great job. Anyway, it's Groundhog Day tomorrow, and what Groundhog Day represents is that we're slowly headed out of winter, and that's always a cheery thought, rather than cold and bitter and miserable. We're headed out of this cold weather. Now, we may not be headed out yet. Groundhog may see his shadow, and we could easily have another month of jungle, another month of cold weather. So we need to forbear setting up the outdoor tubs and throwing fish in them just quite yet, but we are headed. Sharpie says winter hasn't hit in the UK yet. Wow. Hey Amber, how is Amber doing? The the juxtaposition soon of Lucas and Joseph it seems kind of strange to me. That seems like a strange thing. Hey Joel JZ, welcome to the stream. Hey Nisi, welcome to the stream. Is it summertime up there in Alaska yet, Nisi? It's been kind of a strange winter. Need to crowdfund the money for me to buy Lucas's house. Wow. Um, that would be a huge house for you and the bear and your daughter to live in. But man, you would get a lot of tanks in the deal. It's warmed up a bit. It snowed. It warmed up and snowed, Hanisi. Amber says she's good, rearranging her garage. I got some tanks. Awesome. Um, Crowdfunding to buy Lucas's house. Uh, I mean, is Lucas going to just drop everything and move to the islands? He's just basically going to. I mean, I don't know how he would ship everything. I can't imagine trying to ship that many tanks to the islands. I guess he could buy a boat and load them all up on a large cargo boat and head out in the boat to the islands and risk hurricanes and disasters. But I'm not sure how. To me, the only way to go would be to get all of your personal stuff, maybe box up half his fish. He's going to sell the house as is. Oh, Haley, you got to buy it. I don't think you'll ever find a better deal. That's kind of a strange neighborhood where he's living. And since you've changed jobs, that would add all that distance back to your driving to your job, wouldn't it? Maybe you could get a package deal and buy the house and the van and the truck. Wow, Amber got 80 tanks. 10s, 20s, 20 longs, and a 40 and a 75. Yep, Haley, negotiations. Well, I suppose you could take out a loan. You know, you'd be risking a lot. Hey, Cody's son, welcome to the stream. Man, you almost need a sugar daddy benefactor that's not a sugar daddy. To swing a deal like that. Do you guys own your house? If you own your own house and you can sell it, that might give you enough cash to no hiring, one sugar daddy. I hear you, Haley. I don't know. Run a couple of live streams saying, get Haley in the house. And Amber would be your sugar daddy for you if she could. I would volunteer to help, but I'm not sure how much good I would be. And with my wife being so sick now, I don't think that we're going to be financially stable enough to do any big time loans. We might not see the end of a 20-year loan. Sharpie says if he had the money, if he had the money, he'd buy it and hire you. I mean, you could probably approach a bank about it and say, look, I'm basically buying a business, and my place of work would basically be where I'd be selling. Niecy's been drooling over Amber's plants. Hey, Cody, son, welcome to the stream. I'm trying to think of a creative way for you to give Lucas enough money to make it worth his while to sell you the house and be able to drop everything and leave you with the only thing I don't like about Lucas's house is that driveway. Man, that driveway goes straight up the hill. Every time I got out of the car, I'd be afraid the back brakes were gonna fail and it would roll right into the street and get crushed. If I had that house, I would wipe out the front yard and put in a long flat driveway that curled around the house to the back. Okay, guys, we need to come up with some creative ways for Haley to buy Lucas's house. Man, I'm coming up empty, Haley. You're just gonna have to do 500 live streams and hope for $1,000 every live stream. Joel says, in fact, the only time I've really been settled has been the last 4 years due to all these fish tanks. Yeah. When I moved to Indianapolis from Dallas, I had to rent a 26-foot truck. I had 250-gallon tanks. I had 210-gallon tanks. I had about 20 longs, and I had about, 15 or 20 miscellaneous sized tanks, and then I had like 4 55 gallons. Basically, when I lived in Dallas, I was single, separated from my first wife and then divorced, and I was living in a duplex. I was doing maintenance and managing a whole street full of duplexes, and basically just running them, and an apartment building as well. And basically I had no one to please but myself, so every piece of furniture that I had fish tanks on it, and I drug in quite a bit more and had fish tanks on stands everywhere. I had over 1,000 gallons of water in my house. And when I got ready to move to Indianapolis, I couldn't bear to part with any of the tanks. I did leave a bunch of the smaller tanks behind. I had quit growing out Dempsey fry, because that's basically what I was doing for about 10 years, was culling and line breeding Jack Dempseys and selling the fry back that I didn't want back to the store for fish food and an occasional fish that came in. And when I got ready to move, I had to rent myself a 26-foot U-Haul to just get all of that stuff in that U-Haul and strap it all down and wrap it with blankets And then I towed my little truck behind it with all my dogs in it. Actually, my dogs and my cats, and three um, 30-gallon uh, all those little totes, Tupperware tote things. They were each 30 gallons, and I had like 6 battery powered air stones. And I brought a box of batteries with me because I knew they were going to run out on the trip. And I was going from Dallas to Indianapolis. Sharpie says, had a dream about tanks last night. I had a beta barracks on the stairs, one on each step with a pump taking the water back to the top as it trickled down. That's a pretty cool idea. Betas can jump pretty well. I'm not sure a beta that was only 6 or 8 inches away from another tank and had a stream of water coming down into it wouldn't jump from one tank to the next. Hey, the Aquarium Cowboy, welcome to the stream. Today's stream is trying to figure out how Haley can buy Lucas's house. I'm still racking my brain here, Haley. I would basically walk into your bank or a bank. Hey, Candy, welcome to the stream. I've got the 2 hostesses with the mostesses in this stream. I feel honored. I would just walk into a bank. Hey, Chevy Fish, welcome to the stream. If I didn't say hi already. I would walk into a bank and describe how many fish tanks are in that house and what the estimated worth of those fish tanks is. And believe me, Lucas has done massive upgrading as far as a fish room goes. Massive upgrading. And while I'm sure he will take as much with him as he can, there's still going to be a ton of fish left in that house. You'll have to make sure that the power doesn't go off and make sure that you can get over there and take care of them until you guys get moved in. Although I guess it wouldn't take long to get moved in. But I would go to a bank and just lay it out and say, I'm never going to see a better business nor housing opportunity as this, and I would like to buy this house. I know Lucas got a good deal on that house, so I'm sure he would be willing to cut you as much slack as he can without gouging you for a profit on that deal, especially if he just wants to bail and go. But you never know, I can't speak for Lucas, but Lucas strikes me as someone who would try to work with you and make the deal good for him and make it good for you too. But I would go to a bank with a proposal and say, this is how much money that I intend to make, and this is how much money this business has made in the past, and I think with my business skills, I will be able to increase the profit. One, because I already know all the ins and outs of shipping, and 2, I already know how to keep these tanks because I've spent a year keeping them up, and basically I've learned what there is to know about the creatures that I will have in stock, and I am now working at a facility where they buy fish from local breeders, And oh, it's going to be huge details. And Haley, if you do try this, um, just figure on thousands of dollars in extra details that you never knew that you would have to pay. Everything you're going to do is going to be more expensive. Now, that's a nice neighborhood where Lucas lives. It's 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 uh, it's pretty suburban, I would say. The roads kind of wind around in there to get to it. We spend a little time looking for it. Hey, William Jansen, welcome to the stream. We spent a little time looking for it when my wife and I drove up there to find them to walk through Lucas's fish room. Um, but yeah, if you and the bear could swing that, I think you would be. I mean, I think that it would be a wise decision in the sense that it's an investment in the future, and it's a nice house. It's not broken down too badly. It's not uh, debilitated in the sense that someone's been living in it for 30 years and run it down really bad. And I think it would be a sound investment, and it would up your scale of living a great deal, plus allow you to instantly go into business selling fish back to where you work, and and you could make it work. It'll run you to death. You already know how much work's involved in keeping that many tanks up. And of course, you could scale back. Maybe you could take on a roommate to help pay for something, because with the downstairs like it is, it would be perfectly usable for a roommate that you know and trust and don't aren't worried about. There's a lot of creative ways you could go about setting that downstairs up and make use of it. Um, the area is pretty jam packed. There's not a lot of room around those tanks. When my wife and I were in there, we'd go in one room, and basically my wife would follow Lucas and I would stand back and take pictures because there wasn't a whole lot of room in some of those rooms. Well, Haley, talk to Lucas. I mean, I know you do, but talk to him and see, you know, get an idea of when he's got to go, if he's going to go. Get a. And William says, just fill the basement with water. Well, you've got a pond coming from the pond guru, so you might be able to fill a portion of the basement with water. That basement would be a great place to do that. You could uh, redo one of those bedrooms and just turn it into a pond. I'm going to wish you good luck on that because I'm cheering for you. Um, just make sure Lucas gets all those rocks moved first, Haley. Oh man, uh, I just roll all those rocks down on that drain and just let them pile up and keep junk from going down that drain. Of course, then when you got ready to clear the drain, you'd have to move all those rocks to do it. Nisi's talking about Amber. A lot of fun getting the house all settled so far. Joseph has liked all my choices, so I would say things are going well. Well, Nisi, if you remind me this spring, I'll be happy to send you cuttings of some of my plants. Yep. Amber, I'm really excited for you and Joseph to put both of your fish keeping skills under the same hat. Hey, Big E's, welcome to the stream. I'm not sure if any of you guys caught it, but Jimmy did a live stream with his old roommate earlier today. I caught a portion of it. I was helping my wife, so I couldn't watch all of it, but I got enough of it to get the gist of what was going on. I nearly missed meeting him when I went to Jimmy's house to steal all of his fish and tanks. I didn't get there until very early in the morning, and because I was carrying off fish and we didn't sleep, we just started dumping water and bagging up fish. I just got back in the van again and drove back home, and it was like 6 a.m. by the time I got out of there. So I got there like 1 a.m. and by 6 a.m. I was already on the road back home again with all of my ill-gotten gains that Jimmy basically gave me. So he was sleeping in the house at the time, but we didn't wake him up, and he didn't come out, and I was gone before he woke up. So I almost met that guy, but not quite. He didn't wake up in time. But I thought that was an interesting live stream for Jim to do. And I know everybody calls him Jimmy, but I had an uncle Jimmy. And Jim doesn't strike me as my Uncle Jimmy did. Jimmy, I guess maybe he likes Jimmy and I should go ahead and start calling him Jimmy too, but it feels kind of derogatory in some sense, and so I've just never really wanted to do it. I've always felt like I should call him Jim. I mean, would you call Captain Kirk Jimmy? I just not sure that that's the proper tone of addressing Jim. Amber says, I actually just installed a planter box above the bathroom cabinet to have another place for my poppos to overflow. The addiction is real. Good thing Joseph is used to living in a jungle. Well, plants in your house can't do anything but make it. Oh, okay, so you've got the reverse. You've got negativity towards Jim instead of Jimmy. I'm sorry that your father wasn't the nicest of people, Nisi. I would apologize for my gender, but, you know, we do the best we can. Then Ginger would be willing to call James Tiberius Kirk Jimmy. My guess is that he would have you thrown out of an airlock if you called him Jimmy. Maybe not. Maybe it would work, but I'm just guessing that if Scotty said, "Hey, Jimmy," yo, Jimmy. he would find himself being shoved out of an airlock. Yeah, Amber, I'm really excited about seeing how you and Joseph combine your fish keeping skills into a mega fish room. Uh, I really want some of the blue tetras, so I'm crossing my fingers that reshipping of them back to the country uh, works, and that those fish are once again breeding. Scotty saying, "See you, Jimmy," would have been more in character for a Scotsman, though. Yeah. Fish room, fish house, or zoo. Sounds like it's going to be arboretum slash uh, fish world. Tickets will be sold to enter their house. Yeah. Oh, Lucas could sell tickets to his house right now. Believe me, I know. Um, and if Haley moves in there, then Haley might be able to put tours out too. Except her neighbors would probably run her off if a lot of people showed up and had to park up and down the street in that little neighborhood. The Vermont National Aquarium. Uh, I think that they would have to call it a paludarium because of all the plants. I'm not sure aquarium would actually fit. William, evidently, I'm sure if you followed Lucas, you've seen him do those live streams with Joseph from the islands. Evidently, Lucas has been struck by the island bug, and unless something serious intervenes, they will be moving to the islands as quickly as Lucas can gather up his stuff, throw it in a kit bag, and get on a plane and fly over there. I still think he should, if he can't sell the house to someone that's going to keep fish, I still think he should rent a cargo ship, a small cargo ship, but a cargo ship, and he and his wife skipper it and maybe hire one person to help them load all their stuff on that cargo ship, take everything out of the house, strip it bare. If he's not going to sell it to Haley or another fish keeper, strip it bare and tote every fish and every tank to the islands and unload them on the dock and then go look for a house. um, I'm going to take a stab at renting it out and taking over Joseph's place. That Joseph's place would not begin to hold Lucas. Lucas would bounce off the walls in Joseph's place in about 12 minutes. He needs, I mean, it would work to start out with. If he didn't bring fish with him, they could live there because it does have room. And Sharpie says, just buy the container ship and beach it, job done. Yeah, you could do that, except container ships don't usually have running water from the city or connections to power. I suppose you could berth it someplace and install plumbing. Yeah, a small cargo ship would do it. I've seen the inside of Lucas's house. The hardest thing would be to load all the tanks on without breaking them and to bag up all the fish in such a way as to keep them alive. It'd almost be better to buy 50 or 60 little tubs and come up with an aeration system and put all the fish in tubs and have plenty of water to change on the journey. But I'm not sure buying a cargo ship is on Lucas's itinerary. My inclination is to believe that he'll gather up his clothes, his books, his equipment, as many fish as he can bag up and take with him. And I would suggest that he would probably find a house before he moves and get it set up with as many. I mean, he might take Joseph's fish tanks. He would probably take all the tanks Joseph has, and Joseph's RO system, and Joseph's equipment. He'd probably strip Joseph's apartment. Aquatic Zoo. Jurassic Park, huh? I'm afraid the dinosaurs would probably eat all the fish, Amber, and the owners. But it would be a nice idea. And Sharpie says you'll be needing a coelacanth then, Amber. Coelacanths are really interesting fish. I mean, we still don't know if they're not extinct yet. They haven't caught one in a while, if I remember my watching the news. What, it's been like 5 or 6 years since the last one was caught alive, and they've had absolutely no luck keeping them alive, as far as I know. You know, maybe that's not true, but I think they've had no luck keeping them alive, and they may well be extinct. But there are so many things. Yeah, if you get chickens, you will have dinosaurs. Uh, a long way away from dinosaurs, but yes. Birds technically are the offspring and are dinosaurs. It took a long time for that to be realized. But there's far more out there in the world than has yet been discovered. You know, maybe Nessie will turn out to be a dinosaur, a living dinosaur. A lot of people hope. A lot of people hope. And the fact that coelacanths are still swimming in the ocean really makes it possible. Sharpie says, I was watching a documentary. They have found where the coelacanths live, deep down in caves and vertical rock walls, footage of them in the wild. Oh, all right. That's something beyond my knowledge. But if they've got live footage of coelacanths, I hope they well hid where they were at, so that no one can go down there looking for them to sell them, and that they try to turn that area into a zone where people can't fish or disturb those coelacanths so that they might survive. Lake Champlain has champ. Yeah, I think there is far more out there undiscovered than we have discovered. That's one of the reasons why the loss of wild habitat is such a serious issue, because we've not even begun to catalog all the plants and insects and creatures and fish and birds that live in all these few wild areas that are left in the world. And the fact that we're cutting them down or changing the microclimate in the area around them. Nisi says her GM's mom had house chickens in the winter. Yeah, in Alaska they'd almost have to be. Although I think Biggs has come up with some way to keep his chickens alive. Biggs has chickens up in far northern Canada, up on the frozen tundra. Um, you know, creatures can survive far more than we think they can. Although some are really sensitive and can't, but as long as you give them a fighting shot, most creatures like chickens will survive in adverse conditions. All right, guys, we're winding up towards the top of the hour. We've basically covered how we're going to get Haley and Lucas's house, how we're going to get Lucas to the islands, how we're going to get Joseph to Vermont. Candy says maybe Big's room of shame is actually a chicken room. I've been continuously teasing Biggs about his birds. He always yanks everyone's chain about his birds. And if you do not know who Biggs we're talking about is, the Mad Aquarius, Chris Biggs. He's one of the he's a mid-level highlight in the pantheon of fish keepers that are still alive today. Biggs has been everywhere and done everything. He keeps snakes. He does all this kind of stuff that... You want to say hi, Max? Oh, good gracious. Let's see here. There is Office Max, lovingly called Maximilian. Maxomax, Maxomax. Say hi to everybody, Max. Can you paw wave them? All right, get down and let me finish my live stream. That's what my wife's oldest son named him. Was Office Max. And we didn't really like the office part of it, so we just call him Max. Sharpie says there's a roundabout not too far from me called the Chicken Roundabout. Has a resident population of escaped chickens. People driving past throw food out of the car window for them. That's pretty hysterical. So, does anybody have a topic we haven't covered yet? Biggie thinks he's in love. That's not the right season for that, but I guess I could see it happening. Taco Bell dog, yeah. Max is. I have never in my life owned a Chihuahua, and I've always been a person that got big dogs where I could run and fight. Zen Ginger wants to know if I'm going to travel anytime soon, anywhere anytime soon. And Zen Ginger, we basically think my wife's illness is lymphoma. and we don't know how Medicare and Medicaid are going to cover it. So our financial situation is at best up in the air and potentially ruinous. So I've caught a couple of Ben's streams lately. So to answer your question completely, Zen Ginger, um, it's uh, it's not likely that I'm going to be doing any traveling. She wants to go to a some kind of event, and Chicago and Cleveland are probably our closest shots. So I went to Aquatic Experience in Chicago, and when I was there, it was supposed to be both of us, but she was feeling so poorly that she couldn't really walk around that much. So basically, she just said, "Look, if I go with you, you're going to be pushing me around in a wheelchair the whole time because I'm just not going to be able to walk." So she bailed on going. So I went solo. But she does want to go to a some kind of event. I think she would probably really enjoy the Ohio Cichlid Fish Extravaganza because of all the room sales, because there are so many different people that sell so many different kinds of things. Nisi, the honest to goodness update is that we went to, they did a C scan, some kind of scan where they inject sucrose into your body, and if there's cancer cells, the cancer cells absorb most of the sucrose that's in your bloodstream, and then they will fluoresce when they do the scan, and it came back positive, and the lower aortic lymph nodes were involved. Um, a set of lymph nodes under her collarbone were involved, and someplace else. I can't remember where else. And so that's basically a positive for cancer, and that the doctor, the oncologist, basically said, "This looks like lymphoma to me." And lymphoma is not really the worst possible. If it was more endometriose cancer, that would be a worse diagnosis. Sounds all too familiar. Oh gosh, Candy. Well, I'm gonna be asking for your notes. But if it's lymphoma, that can be treated by chemo. And while chemo is not the greatest of all experiences in this world, it's not really that bad as far as terrible C word cancer stuff goes. Um, but she has already done her pre op to get this um, under her collar shoulder bone lymph node biopsied so that they can that's the next thing, so that they can determine exactly what kind of C word this is. And yet the oncologist pretty much says that it looks like lymphoma, that the way it's spread around her body looks like it's lymphoma. And there are a certain uh, for women that have endometriotic cancer, I guess is the proper ending of that word to say it like that. Um, like 10% get this lymphoma in the lymph nodes around their lower aortic. It's not right on your heart. It's where those veins, arteries go down to the lower part of your body, and it's still called aortic because it's coming straight from the heart. Candy says they thought Caleb had either lymphoma or leukemia, both similar symptoms. Yeah, this has been a nightmare for me, Candy, because uh, men are Mr. Fix It. They want to resolve issues. They want to, well, Nisi, she had the feminine uh, part of her cervix removed and all of that. But the prognosis of that was that it had not spread to the rest of her body yet. So she's had all that surgery. Thanks, Zen Ginger. Well, it's because she's in so much pain. This is my sweet wife, and she is in agony a great deal of the time from this. And me not being able to smash something that's causing this pain, or shoot it with a ray gun, or D&D game it away, or sit down and do Buddhist mantras until she stops hurting, all of that kind of stuff. Nisi says, but endo could still come back after a hysterectomy. I thought I had endo in 2018. Yes. And that was a really scary situation, but knock on wood, she came through it well. So I guess if you had to nail it down, we would say we're hoping for lymphoma because all of the other potential possibilities are not good. And even this one is not great, but it's probably the better. Thank you all. Thank you all for, I mean, it's not your job to support us in our misery and our frailty. We're getting old. Nisi, I appreciate that. I don't. There is a huge part of me that wants nothing to do with help from you guys on the internet. I I'm so used to doing everything myself and getting along on my own that I almost feel um, adverse to taking anyone's help in anything. You know, basically a mother, I'd rather do it myself kind of person. But I appreciate the offer. It warms my heart when our furnace went out and Corey offered to replace our furnace for us. I was overjoyed. What I need is moral support, and what my wife needs is your prayers. Uh, Sounds like my lunch is home, guys. The the lady of the house herself is home. I'm going to head out a little early here. Thank you for hanging out in the stream. Haley, move heaven and earth and get Lucas's house. I think you'll never regret it. Sharpie says you're going to get moral support whether you like it or not. Those are all the best. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good rest of the weekend. Good luck with your fish.